this okay. So this movie, Fast and Furious 6. This movie is a love letter to Echo Park, John. It's a love letter told James Bond style. And I mean, we begin the movie in Spain?
Yes, correct.
Correct. Okay. I forgot for a second because I was looking over at my notes okay. We begin the movie in England first because job this good. There's only one crew in the world that could do it, and I'm thinking, they're after Dom and them, and then it's a misdirection, and he knows, and he's after this character named Shaw, Owen Shaw, who you find out later in the movie through one of my favorite parts of the movie, the craziest, pointless interrogation scene I've ever come across.
Early on, The Rock throwing that guy all over the room.
No, when Brian goes back to the United States, we'll get to that. I couldn't stop laughing at that part. I was like, "What are we doing?" But so we find out who Owen Shaw is. Owen Shaw is a mentor, a drug kingpin, a gun runner, and he's got the
short king.
Oh, what?
He's a short king. Also,
he's a short king. That's why they had him separate. They had him social distanced. From
Vin
Diesel at all times. And he, I mean, he carries himself as a Bond villain, which is why I love the movie so much. To me, this is, like I said, it's a love letter to Echo Park, but it's also because that's basically every 1327, right? Like that's basically what this movie is all about. Is let's get back to 1327.
Yeah.
And so Owen Shaw and his crew are trying to they're trying to steal, what's it called? A tech bomb. It's basically a tech bomb.
Tech bomb. It makes like all technology. It's like a EMP for 24 hours.
It's just a EMP. Okay, that's cool. That's just what I figured. It's just a giant a giant EMP.
For some reason, only like 24 hours. I don't know why. I don't know how you do that.
Which is a smaller version of the EMP that they used in Too Fast, Too Furious. But whatever.
Yeah.
So Toretto makes. Hobbs, played by the great Dwayne The Rock Johnson. He sees a car in the 4th story of a building, and he knows that this is Shaw and his crew, and then he believes that there's only one way to apprehend Owen Shaw, and that's to think like Owen Shaw. So he needs to assemble a crew, and he heads over to España, where we see Dominic Toretto just living the life of a king, and knowing full well that all he wants to do is get back to 1327 Highland Drive.
Well, he says it's quiet here. He likes it there. But, LA is the complete opposite of that.
Weird, right?
Yeah, it's real strange. And then I don't know if that's before or after is the race scene to the hospital.
Yeah, I was curious about that.
I'm like, why are you racing to the hospital? It's kind of a continuation from Fast 5. Because they were looked at the cars and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna race." But Mia just became pregnant in Fast 5, or just found out she was pregnant, and then all of a sudden, I'm assuming this is like 7-8 months later, they're just racing the same cars we saw in Fast 5. Stop me if you heard this before. He's racing in a Skyline. It's an R35. It's the first one available for sale in the United States.
R35. Wait, hold on. Before we keep going, we have to talk about the beginning credits. The intro credits were unbelievable. If you had never seen any Fast and Furious movie up until this point, you're good. You don't need to.
No,
you know all the big things that have happened in that movie. There's what was it? It was
it literally just goes through all the movies.
It literally just goes through all the movies, right? Like Letty and Dom hooking up,
me
and Brian.
Yeah, me and Brian, Rome and Brian, Ludacris is in there, Tej. What's the chick's Gal Gadot's character? I don't know her name. Giselle and Han.
All you had to do was put previously above one or previously before and previously on Fast and the Furious, and then you'd be caught up. You don't watch.
Just like a TV episode.
Any movie, it is unbelievable, and so Hobbs he needs Toretto, and he knows that Toretto's not just going to help him. So what does he have in his pocket that knows that Toretto's just going to do whatever he's going to go to London and help him out? Is Letty. Letty is in the Shaw crew. Letty, who we thought had been dead.
Yeah.
Who we thought, a member of the cartel had gunned her down, and we find out in the strangest way for no reason that he wanted to shoot the gas tank.
That was so strange.
That was so strange.
Brian's in the FBI. How do you not have physical evidence that this person died? You're in the FBI, guy. Get a body.
No body, no crime. That's 48 Hours 101.
It doesn't make any sense at all. You have all the access in the world, and you can't find the body? Also,
he has when they show, spoiler alert, I guess, when they show Letty dying in the middle of the movie, which we'll get to, which is the wildest decision making, and it just didn't make sense across the board, just timing wise. It's just crazy. But you find out, is that Skype?
Yeah, someone's just calling me on my work computer. Weird.
Oh, but so you find out that the Phoenix from Fast and the Furious 4 shoots instead of shooting Letty after she's in that car wreck, he points the gun at her head and then points it to a gas tank and shoots the gas tank, and then she still doesn't even get burned. She just gets amnesia.
Yeah, she's just thrown down into a pile of leaves, just very nicely.
Yeah, and then
by the way, it almost looked like the same kind of crash Lance took in the original one.
It might be the same hill.
Lance might have amnesia. Just saying. He's somewhere out there.
He just wants to kill. That's all he knows. He's I don't remember any
snakeskin leather pants or whatever.
I just want to wear snakeskin leather stuff and kill people on bikes. So then Hobbs meets up with Toretto. Toretto then heads over to Brian, who, let's be honest,
Brian.
He's a father now. All he wants to do is, rob and steal and commit crimes because he's a criminal and he doesn't want to be a cop. You can just tell all he wants to do is be in Echo Park. And he talks about that. When him and Toretto are hanging out, he says, we got everything we could have right here, but it's not home. It doesn't feel right. I want to be stuck in smog and traffic and have shitty food all the time, as opposed to be rich and live in a nice Tuscan style Spanish home in Spain for whatever reason.
Canary
Islands,
to
drive a Skyline to nowhere. I want to drive my Skyline to 7-Eleven. What a fucking moron.
Yeah, and they're millionaires. They all have millionaires. 10 million, right?
Yeah, they both got 11. Everybody got 11 million.
Well, Mia and Brian.
Oh yeah, 20 million. 22 million.
Yeah. Probably sitting in a Swiss bank account somewhere.
So they find out what's happening. Brian finds out what's happening with Letty. Dom doesn't want them to go, but he tells them for whatever reason he could have just gone. It's not like they were living in the same town. Maybe they were. I don't even fucking know. But Mia goes, I want you two to be together. So they assembling the crew. So we run into the crew. Roman is in a private jet living the life of luxury with 5 women. He's about to dick down 5 women.
In Macau? Macau, whatever it's pronounced.
In Macau, yeah. Where's Macau? Is that in Portugal?
I think it's in Malaysia or Thailand.
Malaysia. Well, he's got 5 women who are beautiful, drinking champagne. I'm surprised he didn't get the call mid-stroke. You know what I mean? You're in the air. You can do whatever you want. That's your
why
plan.
not? But
why not? Mid-stroke. Yes. Get crazy. The whole time I was watching that, I was like, 5?
Excessive. That's a lot.
I was irritated. I was like, that's a lot. Like, that's just, what are we doing here?
And no
That's
friends, homie?
yeah. I mean, Tej 2x2, you know? And we find out Tej, who's ripped,
Loaded.
who knew Ludacris was ripped? Tej.
He's somewhere too. I don't even know where he was.
He could, I don't know. I feel like he's in Puerto Rico. I feel like he's in Cuba. I have no idea where he is, but they call him Robin Hood, which is Robin Hood, because he just keeps giving people money because he got so much money.
Yeah.
But he also, we find out that this guy's gotten better at hacking, John.
Yeah.
You know how we know?
I mean, if it's Cuba, that's probably pretty easy. I'm assuming it's Cuba because he's from Miami, so he probably just went down.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
A day or two or whatever.
Puerto Rico. But we know he's good at hacking because he hacks an ATM machine with the press of a button. Boom. And that's all we need to know from here on out. So if he's a world-class hacker now, so whenever he sees
By the way, shout out to Ludacris for the Spanish. The money doesn't grow on trees, it rains from the sky in Spanish, which I'm not gonna fucking try and say, but
yeah.
It was impressive.
And then we catch Han, who's living my dream and dating Giselle, played by the Mount Rushmore of baddies, Gal Gadot.
Were they in Hong Kong or Tokyo finally? Because they've been referencing Tokyo for
so long.
Half the franchise.
I think he was in Tokyo, and then he's just going to go back because that's the last time he was with her together at peace. And that's when he goes and mourns and has orgies with 4 or 5 women at a time, because that's how he mourns.
Little cubicles.
Yeah, little pods. That's Tokyo Drift. Once again, we should make note that Tokyo Drift is after this
all.
after Tokyo Drift is in the year 2015.
When they still use iPods.
Yeah, they still use iPods. Okay, so Hana's living my dream dating Giselle. And then they all get to call. One by one, they pick up. Oh, by the way, we don't even know who's after Han and Giselle, because people show up with guns drawn on them. They draw, and he takes a call and picks up the phone.
Yeah.
And no one shoots him, but I guess that's how they do it over there and not over here.
What?
Boom.
That didn't make any sense to me. You're going to get the police force on them. They're fucking criminals. The police force is just going to arrest them. They're not going to help them, escort them, and tell them to go somewhere else in the world.
It made no sense. But they get the call, dumb calls, and it's game time. Rome, by the way, as soon as Rome said, he told the pilots, hey, turn around, I loved it. That's when I was fully ready, locked and loaded. I was like, let's fucking go, dude. This is ride or die.
It didn't make any sense. Well,
didn't make any sense.
None of these people know Letty.
None of this. No, nobody knows Letty.
And Brian and Mia, who's not taking part in any of this.
Yeah, Mia's chilling.
And Dom, right?
Until the very end, which we'll get to. Yeah. So we're assembled.
Much nicer warehouse this time in London.
Yes, a much nicer warehouse. The crew's been assembled. It's time to learn about Owen Shaw, right? Which we have just talked about. He's assembling a tech bomb, which is a giant EMP. Go ahead. You want to say something?
I was going to ask after we didn't about to do it now. What company do you think is in charge of the vending machines in criminal warehouses? Who fills those?
That when I saw that, I was thinking it is so out of place. This vending machine. So we're talking. So after they've been told who Owen Shaw is and that they're after Letty, who they don't know besides Brian, and that's the plan, and they have no incentive. Dom negotiates, which is very quickly. Just, hey, we want immunity and whatever. By the way, Dom in this movie is like a wise old sage. The energy is so different. This is all of a man who's 44, 42. He's very, he feels just very lethargic. He feels like he's got it all figured out, which we find out. I feel like he does have it all figured out because he knows what everybody wants at all times. He's basically Superman. But at one point, Rome is doing his comedy, which always cracks me up. Rome's asking for money from Tej, and he's going to a vending machine, and he's trying to figure out how to use a dollar, and then Hobbs shoots it. He just shoots it. But once again, why is there a vending machine in this warehouse?
Doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense. There's never any time for food when you're in a criminal warehouse. You're never eating food while you're on a mission doesn't work because it's time that you're not on the mission.
Yep.
But they want to go back and live in Echo Park. This is what it's all about. This is the most low stakes you can have. I love this movie. It's just relatable. Home is where the heart is.
Yeah, and like the Rock's number 2. Hobbs number 2 is Gina Carano,
played by the horrible Gina Carano.
Worst person, worst actress for sure on screen.
Yeah, which is saying a lot.
Yeah.
Because Ludacris is in this movie.
Yeah, in this series. I mean, I want to know how many takes this whole thing took. One scene with everyone.
We should really rank who we think are the worst actors.
That's for another.
That's for another time. Yeah, I'm saying.
Well, we'll do that for one show. We'll just rank all the performances
for F8 or F9. Yeah. By the way, F10 is going to be really exciting.
Yeah, F10's
when we write F10 because now it's not going to be crazy when we put dinosaurs in it.
We got to go through like F12 just for other shit just to talk about.
We're going to do a 2-parter.
Oh yeah, I like that.
We're going to do F10
watch it opening night and then give your instant reactions and then like.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to this. This is funny because obviously the vending machine in the warehouse, the nice cars are fucking everywhere, and then obviously Hobbs comes in with Gina Carano's character and like tells them what's the deal. Brian's like, "Fuck you, we want immunity, we want to go home." Dom's like, "Yeah, that's the play. That's what we want. That's the final offer." And you kind of forget that. Yo, bro, you kind of need this offer. You kind of need to take this deal because, like, you don't know where your girlfriend is. You thought she was dead, and now you're negotiating for something else. The whole point was to save her, and so I thought that was pretty interesting. And then, of course, you get the stereotypical Fast and Furious. Let's plan around one table. Let's do a camera shot where we pan to everybody, and then they fucking discuss the plan and how to take this guy down. I thought that was pretty interesting, and obviously, everyone kind of chiming in doing their bits. You kind of get the feeling of what F5 started. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
And I just want to point out that the tone, like this movie, even though it's like picking up where F5 left off, the tone is still. It's drastically different. This feels like a James Bond movie. The lighting, the setting, the colors. It's a lot of gray. It's a lot of London. It feels like if Fast and the Furious, created a James Bond movie, which is, to me, it's essentially what it is, because what we have, it's so sometimes
London, baby.
Sometimes when we're talking about Fast and Furious, and I'm on a tangent, like I'm about to go on right now. Sometimes it cracks me up because I'm talking about Fast and the Furious.
Gonna go on a heater.
It's just talking about the tones of Fast and the Furious. Cracks me up.
No one should care this much.
No one should care this much. But yeah, you're welcome. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. Yep. But here's the difference in this movie that's so different in the next ones is that we really get a reveal. Like all of a sudden, everybody's an expert at fighting. Everyone knows how to fight. Everyone knows how to fight military style, action military style, action hero. Everyone's the fucking transporter. Everyone can throw kicks. Everyone can block, throw elbows. Like it feels like everybody was taught by fucking James Bond himself how to fight, because we get that more than we've ever gotten in any of the movies. And I loved it. I mean, I love this movie. I'll reveal where the rankings are at the end. Like, I mean, this movie's fucking hilarious to me.
This kind of, I think what we mentioned about F5 is that that kind of started how big these movies could be.
Yeah.
This movie is the one that kind of changed and altered the genre of the previous, of what we thought was as the series. This was more of like a heist, more of a team up kind of movie compared to F5. F5, there was a huge big ass heist. That was the whole point, but that was mostly just to like do criminal shit. This is actually like to save things, right? This is like to save the world. This is where, and that kind of theme is kind of taken to more movies as we continue on in this series. But this is the first time like these people are doing like things for good rather than trying to get away with shit.
And so we'll start with Interpol, right? Which is the first initial mission that these guys sorry, I had a moment again where I was like talking about fucking Fast and Furious. But we start with Interpol. Okay. It's the first big action set piece that we see in this movie that involves the crew. And so
they're trying to go to the Shaw's hideout using the guy that Hobbs caught initially.
Nice, thank
interrogated. You. And so then there's like underground kind of layer in London, which is kind of strange because they later on say that you can't go anywhere in London without being seen. Yet Owen Shaw did that somehow and has his base in like the fucking second or third biggest city in the world.
Crazy.
Anyway,
there's blind spots in London that we weren't aware of. So, Hobbs interrogates this guy before he assembles the crew, and then he assembles the crew, or that's when he goes to dump. So, Shaw sees the character that's been interrogated by, and I can only describe him as janky Vin Diesel. That's
spot on.
Santi Street Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
If you're from LA, you know what I mean. Santi Street Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
If you don't know what Santi Street is, it's where you get like super, cheap suits and shit. Like, so this is Santi Street Vin Diesel, and Owen Shaw recognizes and knows, as we find out in the movie, which we will reveal later on, but Owen Shaw knows that he's been interrogated, and then he's narked to Hobbs and them, and so he gets into his F1. It's a fucking F1
inspired vehicle.
Yeah, an F1 inspired vehicle, which was unbelievably cool. It was so sick. It was like a construction site F1. Yeah.
What's the job? You're the job.
Boom. Wait, what is that?
He's like, what's the guy who's the narc who shows up back to Shaw's place? And it's like,
yeah, didn't say what's the job. Oh, he says that at the end. I missed that.
What's the job? What's the next job? He's like, you are. And then he gives him like a package, and the package blows up like 10 seconds later.
See, I knew the package blew up. I thought he said it doesn't matter. But so yeah, the package blows up.
It was his cut from the previous job with like a fucking block of C4 in it.
And it blows up a giant construction site. And because he knows he was double crossed. But this is one of my favorite parts is it's crew versus crew, and we figure out, part of this portion of the story is to Shaw to learn how good this crew is, because Brian figures out that it was misdirection, and he's
like, Interpol is being attacked. We got to go back to Interpol.
He knows that Interpol is being attacked. Shaw's stealing something from Interpol, and Toretto's crew tries to stop them. Yeah. So once Brian figures out, hey, this is a misdirect, Toretto and Hobbs stay on Shaw while the crew goes over to Interpol, which is so confusing to me because doesn't Interpol, why didn't they just call Interpol? And also, why was Interpol closed? Like, aren't the offices open all the time because there's crime happening all the time?
Right, it's like the police agency of Europe. Like what?
It's like, yeah.
They took all their guys, they took them to go find Shaw. No one's back. It's not even like an intern at the office, I guess. It wasn't
even difficult. They got there, and then Shaw's crew is leaving Interpol, leaving the FBI of Europe.
Yeah.
Essentially. Like, this is the FBI Europe. And then no one was there. There was no security. They just got in and got out with the tech bomb, didn't they? Isn't that where the tech bomb was?
Locations for the tech bomb.
Oh, the locations for the tech bomb. Okay. Yeah. So, but it all leads to the inevitable moment of Letty and Dom seeing each other for the first time.
Well, hold on. Let's talk about the F1 inspired vehicle.
Yeah. No, we will.
Because there was two of them. That shit was awesome.
Unbelievable scene.
And I think, just to kind of zoom out a little bit, we've been in LA, we've been in Miami, we've been in Tokyo, we've been in Cuba, no, not Cuba, sorry, the Dominican,
That's right.
Back to LA, then down to Brazil.
Now we're in London.
We kind of been on like every continent minus Australia and Africa.
Yeah.
And now we're in Europe, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's big in Europe? F1.
F1.
Let's fucking market the shit out of this and kind of get a new part of our fan base. So we're going to show up in Europe. We're going to go to, spoiler, we're going to go to Spain, mainland Spain. We started off in the Canary Islands of Spain. Now we're going to go up to the UK. We're going to show off this cool F1 car. We're going to show off all these actors who have cool fucking accents that are all British.
All right then.
Yeah, exactly. So including a cameo later we'll get to of a nice British, which you kind of sprinkled in there with the transporter, which was nice, I thought. So the marketing is afoot, and it is so fucking obvious, and they're even like laughing at Interpol with the whole plot line that we're gonna fuck over Interpol, in the middle of the night. And so obviously we see the race that leads to, as you were discussing just now, Letty and Dom meeting up again.
And I mean I just want to say, and in the tunnels with the F1 being used as a ramp in a
I want one.
a wrecking car at the same time, huh?
I want one. I just want one.
Yeah, it was so sick, but it all leads to the inevitable. Letty and Dom seeing each other for the first time, which, as we revealed, did we reveal earlier that she had amnesia, or am I just
doing Well, there was a blow up, and like, she we did, right? That's what I was saying. I was like, Lance has amnesia.
Yeah.
Another thing about those cars, by the way, I was watching, like I do on these things. I watched the YouTube background, seeing
millions of views.
Yes.
They have millions of views.
Yes. Go on YouTube.
Million.
There's a bunch of like behind the scenes kind of stuff on all these movies. It's great. And so I watched the creation of these cars because I'm a big F1 guy, as I've discussed on fucking like literally every episode we recorded. Those cars, and it shows in the movie that they could steer the back wheels independently of the front wheels, which is how Owen Shaw kind of goes like to the side and shit in the tunnel to evade some of the cars. They can actually do that in real life. And so Paul Walker was in one of these things, and he's like, dude, I saw what they were doing. I wanted to be there when they built it, and I wanted to see how they tested it. So like Paul Walker was talking all about these cars, and he was saying how they have a joystick on the right side of the steering wheel where they can adjust the back wheels along with the front. So like you could be turning and then like rip like the joystick. It was like a video game, like an old school arcade video game, and the back tires will turn the same way. And so that's how they did it. And so really, really fucking cool. And so I would highly recommend anyone going to watch that. But yeah, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
So we get to Letty and Dom. Letty gets out of the car, shoots Dom immediately, but shoots Dom in the right shoulder.
Yeah.
Or one of the shoulders. And then she looks at him. And she looks at him, right? Obviously, she has amnesia, and she may think like, oh, I recognize that face, or I'm trying to fuck that dude, which seems like that's what both of them are, because, that used to be her boyfriend, or guy, or man, or whatever.
Yeah.
They're probably not married. I don't even know how it works. Oh, don't they get married later? Doesn't matter.
They did already.
Yeah, they did in Fast 7 or Fast 8 or some shit.
No. Like 4.
They did?
Yeah, that was like the prelude into Fast 4.
Oh, okay. All right. So her husband.
Necklace, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. See, I forget. And so she flees and
first off, Dom's lucky she's not a cop and she wasn't trying to unload the clip, because he'd been fucking done. If she had like 6, I'm not a gun guy. I'm assuming the 10 bullet clip you get, or 10 or 12. Got 9 more shots in there, homegirl.
But it's also like revealing of her character, right? Because we learn she's not bad. She's just hurting him. She's just maiming him. And we think it's because she recognizes him, but we later find out she doesn't recognize him at all.
No. She said she's lucky she missed her shot earlier.
Yeah.
Or later in the movie, she says that. But I'm like, you had multiple chances to get more off. Like, what were you doing?
Yeah, it's just
she turned into Phoenix there.
Yeah, she turned into Phoenix, but so she makes her way over to the hideout, to Shaw's hideout, which is always so funny to think about. This guy's like a drug kingpin as well, apparently. Like you find that out later, and we'll
Literally
get to
everything.
that, which is my favorite part of this movie besides the action scenes. So it's hilarious to look at it. Like this dude is a drug kingpin, gun runner, smuggler. He's all the bad things, and they get to the hideout, and she's revealed for the first time. She immediately he goes, I want to know who this crew is. Let's respect this crew. He wants to know who this crew is. They find out they're all common criminals.
That's crazy how they got all that information. Do they all have like Wikipedias or something?
They got there so quickly. They got there so remarkably. They got the information so remarkably quick that it blows my mind. I don't know what the timing is, but the one guy says they're common criminals, and then Owen Shaw goes, "Respect the crew, aye." They earn no respect, yeah.
And what's he always scribbling? He's always writing something down on that big ass fucking table. What are you etching out, homie? Like, are you
planning?
He's just like doodling,
just drawing, just doodling.
I wonder what the actors are actually doing, like when they are doing, like, are they just signing their name over and over and over?
Some might, yeah. Some might. The real ones actually have like a plan, and the tryhards actually have a plan in place. Like Meryl Streep would do like an actual like plan. While
there's actually a thing.
Yeah, Anthony Hopkins would just like scribble.
Yeah,
he would scribble and then win an Oscar because he's that fucking.
Yeah,
good.
Owen Shaw looks like he's just gives 2 or 3 scenes of him where someone enters, usually Letty. There's a big fucking square table, kind of like Dom's crew.
Yeah,
where he's just like with a rule or whatever, or he's talking to someone else. He's like laying out plans about what to do, but he's always writing something down. I'm like, your plans aren't that well thought of. Like, you just blew it up and then drove away.
The actor was probably writing, "You can drink like Gaston. You can drink like Gaston. You can drink like Gaston."
Crossover.
So she has no idea, but she learns in that moment that Dom is her guy. There's somehow photos of them like macking on each other. So apparently the FBI
on that camera. I don't know how they got it.
By the way, it is confirmed now that it was DVD players that he was stealing the whole time from those truckers. All this started because of DVD sales in Echo Park were high. Now he's an international spy. But the crew has a plan of their own, right? They need to they now know that Shaw has the location for the tech bomb, and they need to figure out where the fuck Shaw is and how to get there. And because in the action set piece, there was a moment where the crew was able to basically hack their cars by putting by a device. And go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's very, very similar to Too Fast, Too Furious, where they
very similar
shot it onto the car or whatever. And then Brian somehow saw it on the front left of his bumper, and then like slid it off, before he could. Because his car could flip like
super easy to do
Roman's
that. It's not just fucking hooked into the metal, the aluminum.
Yeah, I was like, that's okay. Usually the whole bumper would come off of that. Oh boy.
Yeah, with that impact and that speed, it doesn't matter.
I'm pretty sure he says something like, that's not gonna happen again or whatever.
Yeah,
referencing Too Fast, Too Furious. Yeah.
So now they know that they need old cars that can't be hacked via a computer. So it's time to divvy up everybody's tasks, which is always my favorite part in a heist movie because it's always fun, or in any movie where there's a something happening. I love when people are like, "Ooh, you're just gonna see how they get shit done." So somehow or another, it is Tej's responsibility, along with Hobbs. You gonna say something?
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say the funny part about this, whereas when they were back at the hideout with, back at their, I don't know, warehouse or whatever with Rock and Gina Carano, and they were discussing the cars that Owen Shaw and his crew were driving, and they were talking about the engine, like, oh, that's not a normal car. That's that's. I forgot. I'm not a fucking car guy. I don't know what the fuck they were saying, but they were saying something like real crazy shifty, and like, oh, this is like, oh, that didn't sound like a regular motor. And Hobbs looks over at Gina Carano and is like, see, this is what they provide. This is why we got them.
Yeah.
And it was like, dude, no, like, it's such a it's so try-hardy. And so it was like,
you're right, I forgot about that.
It was so ridiculous. And so obviously Han and Roman, Giselle, and Gina Carano all have to go to the garage to find out the only guy in London that could provide this kind of engine or whatever.
Who can make a chassis,
yes,
F1 style, who can construct a chassis out of and the chassis is the body of the car, who can construct with material and bend it in a way and that can retract a ramp and all of that, while Tej and Hobbs have to go find a car. By the way, there is a moment that has aged very poorly in when Tej and Hobbs are buying car, which is, once again, it's hilarious because it's also like, hey, dude, I don't know what organization you work for. You're obviously a spy and you obviously have a lot of pull, and you're just going along for the ride now. Now you're just part, in which we find out at the final act, there is a moment where you're like, dude, you're a spy, like you're an agent, like you're a government official, dude.
Yeah.
You're making these kinds of decisions. That is not a decision you should be making when your 401k is dependent on the government, or your pension is dependent on the government. Like, that's illegal, sir. But he joins up with Tej to shop for cars that don't have computers, which is all old cars from the 60s and 70s that they're all going to soup up and do what they have to do. But there's a moment where there is I'm just assuming he's the host of the event. It's very British. They try to find the most British person ever, and he speaks in the most posh way. It's a British word for try hard or fancy, and he's actually racist to Tej because he says, and I quote, "I don't see any bling on you, I don't see any honeys on you, and I don't see an entourage, so you can't have the money." And then he looks at Hobbs and he says, "Everything you're wearing screams that you're functional, so that means you're either the help or you don't know where you are here." And I mean, that's just crazy.
It was bad.
That just not.
I'm trying to find the guy's name. I don't have it, but it was just like, okay, like, can we not? Like,
it's tough. It's tough.
It was bad, but I mean, like, that's exactly the kind of thing you would see actually happening, in those events.
Yeah, sure, yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're not made of money, then you don't matter. And luckily for the crew, they have to. And Hobbs says, "Hey, you're not stealing these cars." And Tej goes, "Trust me, I'm going to get these cars." And he buys all the cars, which
he's like, "I got this."
Some of these cars, I like some of these cars are, $300,000, $500,000. Like, it's probably a total of $2 million.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the 1970 Dodge Charger, maybe it might be a 69 because they only made this. It was the Dodge Charger Daytona version where the big wing on the back, the red one that Dom drives. I'm pretty sure they got that one there to then take, obviously, to the street racing scene. But this is what I was going to bring up earlier. That car specifically is the Joe Dirt car.
Oh, shit.
And so I was like, I need to see how much that car goes for. And, of course, the first one I pull up is Plum Crazy Purple. And that's exactly what Joe Dirt was looking at in Auto Trader when Buffalo Bill or Buffalo Bob had him in the hole. And he was like, "Oh, this guy wants this much for a Plum Crazy Purple?" And he's like, he's out of his mind. But so, of course, that one came up first fucking thing I saw. It's worth, or the asking price right now is $102,000. So Tej got some deep pockets, homie.
Got some deep pockets. And so he buys all the cars, and they're working on cars. And then it's Han and Roman and Gina Carano and Giselle, played by Gal Gadot, who find the mechanic after assuming that there's only 5 mechanics that can do that in the city of London, which is crazy to assume that. It's crazy to assume that. There's probably only one. There's probably none, to be honest with you. But that's this low class and not this talented and is willing to work for a criminal organization. Do you know what I mean? Like, for all that to align, unbelievable. But anyways, he's able to make these F1 chassis out of steel. And they find him, they interrogate him. He's quick, calls up one of the henchmen of Shaw, and then Shaw's able to hear what's happening, and then that leads them to go to the place. And then in this firefight, in this moment, Giselle's able to find an answer about, about what, where you can find. I don't even remember what her question was, but all that the guy said was Braga. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what it was exactly, but she just keeps doing stuff where she's like, "Don't send a man in for a woman's job."
Yeah,
it's like this is like her second movie in a row she says that.
Yeah,
and I can't remember exactly what it was, other than like trying to fuck this guy or sound like they were trying.
No, well, we're past that. This is the point after the firefight.
Yeah,
it's at the very end where she has her gun drawn on him, and he's already been shot. And he says Braga, and I don't remember what his question was, but I think it was like how did Letty get to? I don't even know what the question was. And to be honest, who cares?
Does it matter?
It doesn't matter. This movie's fucking bonkers town. So Braga is in cahoots from Fast and Furious. The Mexican drug kingpin
F4
cartel is in cahoots with fucking Owen Shaw somehow. And then this is when the craziest plan comes into fruition. How did Letty end up with Shaw? Okay, this is bananas land. This is bonkers town. So what we find out is the way Brian makes a decision. I have to go talk to Braga. Braga's in a prison. The only way to get information is to fly to America and go undercover in the prison and make my way into solitary confinement and interrogate Braga while I'm in prison and he's out walking around. This is madness. This
doesn't make any sense at all.
Couldn't they have just called? Couldn't they
just have some lawyer interrogate him?
A flight from London to Los Angeles is 13 hours. Private. It's 13 hours. Yeah. He flew 13 hours to go undercover. Twice. And then this is the longest plan. This is, I don't even know. There's a better way. The fact that no one stopped him at all. Like, no one was like, hey, there's a more efficient way of doing this. Like, we should have somebody interrogate him, give him immunity, make a deal. Like, we can cut a deal because we need information and he has leverage. That's how that works. And Brian was like, nah, I got this, dude. I'm going to go there. I'm going to fly 13 hours, go undercover. I'm going to see my old peer. And then he's going to make fun of me. We're going to have banter. And then he's going to put me in prison. I'm going to break his nose so I can get solitary confinement again. And then while I'm in solitary, have no idea when or at what point I'm going to be able to talk to Braga. I am in prison and I have a time limit. I only have 48 hours. He's got to be there for like another day. So I don't even know after he gets the information if he just kicks everybody out. I don't know how it works, but he has no concept of how he's going to get this information because he's in prison and he can't just leave when he wants. But lucky for him, Braga shows up and knocks on his fucking front jail cell and goes, there's been a lot of people who want to fucking get you because you don't think we recognize you, homie? You don't think we'd seen you? By the way, I'm doing a better fucking cartel Chicano accent than Braga because Braga's fucking from New York and he's Puerto Rican. That's besides the point. The point is, they open up the cell because this crooked, and so he runs his prison, and then within 30 seconds, Braga tells Brian. Right? Yeah, I mean he's murdered within he doesn't murder him. I don't even know he doesn't murder him, but he just gets his friend. Within 30 seconds, Braga tells Brian how Letty works for Shaw and what he did for Shaw under the premise that you're a dead man walking. What does it matter? And Brian is so horrible at interrogation because he was like, oh, criminal, you went bat. And then the first thing he goes, Letty? There's no tact. He's just like, where's Letty? Where do you have Letty? There's no tactical awareness. He's just like, wouldn't he be like, Letty? Why do you give a fuck about wait, what? What does Letty have to do with
it? Yeah, right. Like, how do you even know her name?
And so then my favorite part of all this is that we find out that Braga was mentored by Owen Shaw to be a drug kingpin. He says
he was a drug kingpin in Mexico. He taught him to be global.
He taught him to be global, which is hilarious because you're in Mexico and your drugs and everything goes into the United States. So that's already fucking international, dude.
Yeah.
You're already fucking global. What are you sending your fucking weed to the UK?
Okay.
Who like, what are we doing here? But and it's also like it's crazy because Shaw is the antithesis of what Braga is. Like, Shaw seems like a military man. He seems like he doesn't believe in running drugs or trying to make a profit off people, doing drugs. Do you know what I mean? Like, he just seems
he's disciplined.
Like he's disciplined. That's my point. He's a disciplined military man. He seems like your classic.
Well, he is a ex-SAS officer, right? As they say.
But he seems like your classical James Bond bad guy who's got better things to do than run the heroin trade in the UK.
Yeah. He thinks globally, bro.
He thinks globally.
Yeah, it was just interesting, like you had mentioned. That whole fucking route to get that info was just like so crazy, so extra, so it's incredibly awesome. Extra. It didn't make any sense. Just get. And they are still criminals, so just get Hobbs to get someone in that room, or go Hobbs. You interrogate him. You've already interrogated one guy successfully this movie, and you're like literally not a criminal. What the fuck are you doing?
But by the way, time is of the issue. So why are you getting on a 13-hour plane flight? Why don't you just call somebody and say, "Hey, get Braga in this room. We'll give him immunity now. We need this information because we need to save the world, because he's going to give this EMP that shuts down cities for 24 hours. So they're going to rob all the banks. I don't even know what you can do with this kind of
it didn't make any sense.
EMP, but for whatever reason,
this didn't make any sense.
Movie's crazy. I fucking love this movie. This movie's fucking bananas. Okay, so it's pointless, but he gets the information, and it's proven how much more pointless it is, because at one point Han goes up to Dom and says, "Hey, this is the street racing information that you wanted. Like, here's where the street racing is." And so he goes to street racing because that's where he knows that Letty will be, and Letty's there. So I don't even know why they needed that information, because there's none of that information they can use. It's just supposed to be character development for Brian, but we're going to just move forward for a second. And then when Brian comes back, which feels like it's been forever, he comes back right at the final act. He's going to tell Dom, and then Dom's like, "Don't worry about it. That's between you and her. So that's for you. Doesn't matter." And so it's like, okay, so we just watched you get on a plane, break a FBI agent's nose, and then not interrogate Braga somehow and get into this wacky fight, and then come back.
It didn't make any sense.
For no reason. Unbelievable stuff. Truly unbelievable stuff.
Risk being in prison for the rest of his life.
For nothing. But so Dom and Letty race. They have a moment. She gives him the time of day because for whatever reason she feels comfortable. There's something, her instincts say, this guy, I can trust this guy, or I can be around this guy, or there's something about this guy. And this is the moment where I ask myself, or I ask, is Toretto a tactical genius? Because Letty leaves, by the way, hilarious to say, but is he a tactical genius? Because Owen Shaw shows up after she leaves, and he's got a sniper pointed at Dom, and he's basically saying to him, "Hey, you're not going to go away. I'm just going to kill you right now." But then, lo and behold, a red sniper, also the red laser, shows up on Shaw's chest, and then it's Hobbs.
And how does he not just have him killed right there?
How does he not have him killed right there? Full disclosure, Hobbs is going to break some laws later on.
Kill Owen Shaw right there, and then they retaliate, kill Dom. 2 birds, 1 stone. You look like a
2 birds, you're done.
Write the report up right now, and you look like a fucking genius to your boss on Friday morning.
You're done. You're good. You're good to go. You know what I mean? Like, you're fine. But whatever. They both leave and go their own way, and then Hobbs is like, if I didn't have put a tracker on you, and he was like, then this tracker, and then he's just like, if I wanted to be tracked, I would have been. This whole movie
By
is
the way,
Vin Diesel stroking his ego.
By the way, no one turns their lights off when they get out of their car.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
What the hell? No, the automatics, maybe? Come on.
Yeah, I think so. But but we finally get the final act. Brian comes back. We've already explained that. We've already established that it's fucking nonsense, but whatever. Brian figures out that Shaw's doing misdirection again, like Braga says. He's dealing with them. Braga told me that if Shaw wants you close by, it's for a reason, or whatever. I'm paraphrasing. So with that information alone, Brian risks the whole idea, and it pays off, and he realizes misdirection. So they go chase them down, and then now we're in the final act, which is the tank and the plane. So I just want to say this, and then if you want to take over, if you want to just jump wherever you want to jump, Fast and Furious, Marvel, and Star Wars. No one does a final act sequence like those three.
Well, I mean, there were two, right? The plane and the tank.
Yeah, unbelievable stuff.
So the tank, I don't even know what the whole goal was, just to get caught.
What was their plan? Do they even have the EMP? When did they get the EMP?
So the whole plan was to like get caught so you could get the thing, the machine or the piece of technology from Dom's crew back, because then you like admit that you have Mia, who you took from Tenerife, and then use her as leverage to get away. I don't know what their logic was there.
Love it.
But then, of course, we're just on a runway somewhere, in Spain, and mainland Spain this time. And, unfortunately, fortunately, they find, right before this, obviously, Gina Carano's character switches, which was puzzling to me. Why would you admit or reveal that you're fighting for the team right now?
Like there is no incentive, because you still aren't you in the system? Yeah. No, aren't you? That was so confusing. So this is after the tank sequence. There's a tank on the loose, and it's killing every civilian that's in its vicinity. That Owen Shaw is just murdering civilians and running them over with tanks. And Letty's like, yo, what's your problem? Roman comes in with a car and slows the tank down. He's the MVP of this action sequence.
The second most ridiculous thing of this whole movie
we didn't even get to it.
Dom catching Letty up in midair. Like,
so the tank. So this is fucking crazy. So Roman drives a car in front of the tank and goes on, and it kind of like lodges it into the tank, but not enough that it can just completely run it over. Yeah. So it's just acting as a deterrent, or it's slowing it down. And so it gets the harpoon gun. There's a harpoon gun. Which they had showcased in the hideout. They've showed the harpoon gun enough times to trust us. This harpoon gun, just go with it. So there's a harpoon gun, and Roman's wrapping the harpoon gun around the giant gun that's on the tank. And then Shaw tells Letty to go up on the tank and get rid of the harpoon that's wrapping around it. As he's doing that, he sees Dom there for whatever reason. And then while he's turning that, Brian makes his way to the left side of Roman's car that's slowing it down. Roman jumps on the car, on top of Brian's car, as the tank runs over Roman's car. And then that car that's tied up is used by Brian to toss it up over a bridge, where they're on a bridge for whatever reason in Spain, killing so many Spanish people. And Dom sees this, gets out of the car, has the car open, the foot on the gas. I don't know how he's got the balance to do this, turns the car, and while the tank is being flipped over and Letty's being jumped off while she's falling, she's being thrown off the tank, Dom runs into the bridge, catapults himself out of the car, catches her in midair. And if they had the speed to do that, they would have just murdered each other, and then lands on the windshield of the car. No back problems. He's good. The motherfucker is Superman.
He shouldn't be able to walk for like 2 years.
He should be dead.
Yeah,
is what he should be. And so then they, like John was saying, over, like their plan was to get kidnapped. It was trying to get arrested,
go into custody to reveal your informant somehow,
and then
your informant just could have just taken the thing without revealing anything.
And then this is bananas. We'll wrap it up after this. And then Hobbs goes, Toretto, you're gonna want to hear this. Just like it doesn't. Why? That is the most unprofessional way to conduct yourself, Hobbs. Mm-hmm. You're unbelievably unprofessional all of a sudden. But Shaw tells him, "Hey, we've kidnapped Mia. Basically, they've kidnapped Mia, and there's an
little
issue."
Little Jack, you got still.
Yeah, and so he's like, let us go, or you're going to have problems. And the NATO commander, rightfully so, who is a NATO commander. I mean, once again, NATO, doesn't have an army, and they can't just like engage with people. But once again, he's like, hey, we're not going to do that. That's against the law. And Hobbs pulls out his .357 Magnum and puts it to the NATO commander's head and threatens him and is like, oh, yes, you will.
Yeah, that's
once again, hey, dude, that's bananas land, because you're also working for a government entity, even though like NATO's not a government, but you know what I mean. And so then at one point, Toretto says, if we let him walk out of here, Toretto, amnesty and immunity are off the table. He tells him, like, dude, you should be going to prison.
Yeah, he's pretty much like words like this, immunity, and what was the other one he used?
He pulls a gun on a NATO commander,
and
he works for the fucking government or some shit.
Yeah, that's like, a discharge, homie.
What are we like? What are we doing here? So, and then the NATO commander just obliges with everyone is holding rifles once again because they can't engage; they can only defend themselves because it's NATO. So then all hell breaks loose, and they get to the plane, they get to the runway, and then it's just harpoon guns the whole time trying to take down this plane. Giselle dies. Toretto's still unstoppable. He kills Shaw while Shaw's trying to escape from the plane in a car. He unhooks his seatbelt. Shaw, the very reason you click it.
Yeah, click it or ticket.
Click it or ticket. It might fly through.
But this scene is so insanely ridiculous because people have timed out how long this scene is, a combination with like the speed in which this plane would most likely need to take off at. It was distance out to 18.37 miles long.
It's supposed to be a quarter mile, right?
No, 18 miles long is the runway as they depict in this movie. That is a problem because the longest runway in the world is 3.5 miles long. So, I mean, it just insanely ridiculous, right? Like it just doesn't make any fucking sense. You're like 6 times the length or whatever it is.
It's crazy. And then I don't even know who's flying this plane. It just didn't even make any sense. But Shaw's dead now. He flies out of the cargo plane and dies on the runway. Giselle dies. Oh yeah, quote unquote dies. And then at the end, Toretto survives the plane crash and takes the $1 billion EMP that the 24, which for whatever reason the Interpol needed to make. But 1327. We talked about at the beginning of the movie, and we're going to wrap it up with this.
As they like walk to each other at the end of the runway, literally at the end of the runway, 19 miles worth of runway. Everyone kind of comes together. Vin Diesel's, there I go again. Dom Toretto somehow walks out of a burning plane. I don't really understand how that's possible, but again, it's the longest runway ever known to man somehow. So
tour de force.
It's just odd, right? It just doesn't make any sense. And so walks out. Giselle somehow can't survive one little fall. Gina Carano gets harpooned like Moby Dick. And so all these beautiful cars are just strung up on this plane till it doesn't take off. And somehow they all survived. feel like we should have lost a couple more people here, but
should have lost. At one point, the plane is in the air, and they jump into a Jeep-like vehicle, and it feels like it's 30, 40 feet, and they do it while it's moving. It's kind of nuts, but that wasn't the craziest part about this whole thing. At the end, he gives them the $1 billion thing, and Hobbs says, "Name your price," to Toretto. And Toretto looks down, looks up, and in a stoic way, he says $13.27. And then it cuts to, you guessed it, motherfucking Echo Park. We're back, bitches. Fucking, we're back.
Yeah, homie.
They just let it go to waste, though. And nobody seems to have purchased that house because the grass was
eminent domain, homie. They're probably millionaires. They probably just have some like corporation owning the house.
But what I'm saying is, the real estate agent, the government, they just let that house go. After a certain point, they're not making payments. It belongs to the bank.
They bought it back. They're millionaires.
Yeah, I guess they bought it back right away, and nobody was living in it. Nobody wanted to live in it because where that.
I mean, collectively, the Torettos have 30 million.
Wait, hold on. No one wanted to buy it because that's the house where that kid with ADHD was shot in 2002.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So if they and also I had like a moment where there was like a Mexican grandma that walked out. She was like, no más, no otra vez, por favor, no más. And then after he looked at her and he was like, no más. And then she grabbed him and touched his face, and then she went, ¿Tienes hambre? And then fed him. And then Chef Chelios.
Yeah, all of that happened. All of that. I want that all of to happen. And like,
yeah,
what I really want is like while Jesse was getting shot, the ice cream guy with his cart was across the street, like, oh, fuck.
Hijo de la gran puta. Hijo de puta.
Like,
Tengo que ir de aquí.
You ever heard the bell in the background? He's like,
yeah.
Oh, fuck. No, so this ending of a Fast and Furious movie is my favorite ending of any Fast and Furious movie.
I agree.
So obviously it's super awkward because Mrs. Hemsworth, again, I don't know her name. Monica, maybe?
I don't even know her name.
I don't know. Rolls up with the Rock, and it's super uncomfortable because now Letty's there, right? They gotta kind of sift through that. Letty's like, thank you for what you did for us, for him. Even though she's wearing like the necklace that she wore while getting railed by Dom.
Yeah, even though she wore their.
And we later learn Dom has this pretty powerful stream of seed there that she doesn't mention till way later. But there's that awkwardness. There's an awkwardness with Han kind of still grieving and getting over Giselle being, dead now.
Counting the orgies he has to be a part of.
Yeah, right. And it's kind of cool and really like nice to think about that. Roman and Tej are like, if you ever need us, we're there for you.
Yeah.
That was pretty heartwarming. I thought that was really fucking cool. That little line at the end. So I kind of feel like Han has like a family he can always go back to, even though and then they ask him, why do you got to go to Tokyo? And like we've mentioned in previous shows, he's like,
got to fuck bitches.
Something I got to do. And
I got to fuck every chick.
Yeah. And so
at the same time,
all of the above, like A through F, all the above.
In a pod.
Yeah. In a little pod, and use iPods and flip phones again. And
I got to go back to 2003.
Yeah. Even though I'm like a fucking international criminal, I got to go use a high score to get my money back. Yeah, it didn't make any sense. And so I thought that was kind of cool. And then of course Roman's the first one to touch the food as they're sitting. Baby Jack's there. They have to say grace, and honestly, as he's saying grace and it pans away, it has the skyline of LA. It's just so fucking cool. And like the song hits and it's beautiful. Like it really is the best ending of any Fast and Furious movie, in my opinion. Like the family's there, Letty's back, as Roman says in his grace, and everything is going to be okay. And it pans out, and like the skyline of LA, we're back home. We're not criminals anymore. We're all fucking uber rich. Like it's just a good fucking feeling. And then of course I remember this like it was yesterday, watching in the theater. 30 seconds later, after the credits hit, we're back on the streets of Tokyo, and DK is chasing Han, and we get kind of a continuation of or another angle of what we had seen previously in Tokyo Drift, excuse me, and now we know who crashed into Han and why, and I'll let you kind of take away that right there.
It's motherfucking Chev Chelios. Chev Chelios himself, Jason Statham, fucking murders Han, picks up a phone, and he's like, "Get me Dominic Toretto." And then it fucking end credit. And then you're like, what the fuck? And I remember, because I went to the midnight release of 5, 6, and 7. I don't know if I did 8. I don't know if I was able to do 8. But like we've obviously discussed, obviously we're doing this. We're big fans of the series. And I remember seeing that and thinking like, yo, man, this is it. This is 96, 97, 98.
Yeah.
This is, the 2016, 2015 Warriors run. Like, I think like they're really so good in 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
And I love this. I mean, and it's just so it's just so good in the sense that, I mean, yeah, this movie's fucking bonkers town, USA. Yeah. It's a catastrophe of a story, but I love it. It's hilarious. It's awesome. And once again, family, right? Echo Park, all that shit.
Yeah.
But there is something they build off of 4, which leads into 5 in this crazy way, and 5 leads to 6 somehow. And now we even have like this character, Owen Shaw, who, like we talk about, like his brother Shaw, I forget his name, Deckard Shaw, is who's become so likable in Fast and the Furious 7 that they had to do a spin-off because him and The Rock were so good
together. Too likable.
They were too likable. Like, and so now we have this pivotal character. This one person creates like essentially a family because, what's her face, Helen Mirren, wants to be in Fast and Furious 2 because she loves it so much. Yeah, that's right. Helen Mirren and Charlize Theron. Awesome.
And then what's the sister's name? I don't remember the sister's name, but she's a big actress. She was just in the latest Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah, didn't she just win an Oscar or some shit?
I honestly don't know, but to see, I remember like you pointed out, I watched I don't remember if it was midnight or not, but it was early that week, first weekend it came out, and I remember going to see it, and then like at the end, me and a couple friends were like literally walking out because we had credits, and like this isn't a Marvel movie, like there shouldn't be anything after, and then of course, as everyone's like walking down the stairs, everyone fucking stops and was like, oh shit, this is Tokyo Drift happening right now. Like this is that scene. And so obviously in the storyline or the continuation of events, you realize that, yeah, Tokyo Drift hasn't taken place yet. So you're like, oh fuck, they're connecting this somehow because we had just seen Han on the stoop drinking a Corona and kind of like going through some shit. Then I still gotta go through Tokyo. And so we obviously know what happened in Tokyo with him in the movie, but this gives another, point of, reference or point of view of all that. And so I was literally standing and I'm like, oh fuck, this is that movie. This is the scene again. So and like there was different camera angles and you're like, okay, what's going to actually happen? You see, some Camry or Infiniti, whatever Deckard Shaw was driving, police scanner pops up. I don't know how he speaks Japanese, but he does. And he's like, oh, this car is going here. 2 cars are driving. And so he releases the brake on his car, gets out of his parking spot, takes off, starts driving. And of course, that's the car. Then then you go back to that classic scene to where Han crashes with another car. And you're like, oh, fuck, that's that car.
That's that car.
Who's driving that car? And out pops fucking Jason Statham. And it's just like, oh, fuck, man. They knew what they were doing somehow. Maybe not then, but they
pieced it together.
Oh, my God.
It's a brilliant moment. Like, it's so funny to say that's a brilliant moment when talking about Fast and Furious, but they made 9 of these and they get millions of views on YouTube, these scenes and edits.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fucking, we're not the only ones who think this shit, even though it's fucking hilarious. Of that fucking the song, the Mama Nima, Mama has 1.1 billion views on YouTube.
Oh my god.
So
yeah, speaking of money, this one made 788.7 million. That's the third most, which is kind of insane. The third most of the franchise as of today. We obviously expect Fast 9 to make a lot more, but but it's behind the Fate of the Furious, which I believe is 8, and then Furious 7, which each made about $1 billion.
Yep.
Well, actually 1.5 billion for Furious 7, which we all know why. We'll get to next week. But Fast Furious 6, 789,300,444. That's not nothing, nothing to sneeze at there. Out of a budget, what's funny is Wikipedia says budgets anywhere from 160 to 260 million. So there's a discrepancy of 100 million. We're not quite sure.
Yeah.
It's in there somewhere. This was the last one to be directed by Justin Lin until, of course, Fast 9 and then Fast 10, which might be a two-parter. And so he's back, man. He makes the best movies, and he obviously didn't do 7 or 8, but I think we both enjoy 7. I don't know about 8, but
fuck 8. But we'll get to it.
Yeah,
7 I fuck with. I fuck with 7.
Yeah, and that took a lot of work. As we'll get into, but James Wan came in to do that one, who also did Aquaman, so he's got some skill too, and he's done a lot of, like, he's done Insidious, that whole series, James Wan, and so he did 7. I don't think he did 8. I think someone else came in for that. But Justin Lin, man, just started with Too Fast and Furious and just fucking took off, and he's done, I think this was his 5th or 4th movie in the franchise. And he's obviously going to end up doing like 7 or 8 of these. And so out of
rightly
10,
so. He doesn't. They fucking slap.
Exactly, and he deserves it. So let me see. I think it was generally favored on Rotten Tomatoes, 70%. So I think it was the early ones that had maybe like in the low 30s, low 40s.
I mean, this is a hit.
They're getting a lot better, and so I can't wait till next week's. That's going to be pretty emotional for me, as it was.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Without you, my friend. Also, you want to rank them?
As of this one?
Yeah. So just this one.
Yeah.
So for me, I got F5.
Yes.
F6.
Okay.
Fast and Furious 1.
Okay.
Too Fast, Too Furious. Tokyo Drift.
Yep.
Oh no, Too Fast and Furious ahead of F1. So F2 is 4.
Ooh.
And Fast and Furious 1 is after that.
Okay.
And then 5,
3 and 4,
Drift, and then Fast and Furious, the 4th one, is last.
Okay. So we have 6 movies. I'm gonna go. I have agreed with everything you had until you said
Too Fast
is better than the original. I think it's F5, F6, original, Too Fast, Tokyo Drift, F4, and that's it right there.
Yeah, F1's pretty great, but like, I didn't get there's something in Too Fast that I got more out of F1 when I think about the middle parts of the movie.
The music, I think, hits way better in Too Fast. Like just the if you can combine that opening scene in Too Fast with the ending of F6, perfect movie.
Yeah,
I don't even care what happens in between. Just give me like a pimp from what's his name, David Banner, and then
David Banner.
I don't even know what the ending song is here, but it just hits well with the camera panning up to the skyline of LA.
What a journey! What we like I said, now we're in London. Where we go next, I kind of forget, but it's international.
I was just going to say we go everywhere. We go into the mountains of the Middle East. Somehow they decided to throw some.
We go to Dubai.
They decided to throw some cars out of a plane.
I love this fucking franchise so goddamn much.
So I think they touch on the outskirts of Africa a little bit. So,
but I mean, we hit every continent on our way to space, from Echo Park to space. It's a Fast and Furious countdown to F9.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget, please subscribe. It really helps us out. Subscribe.
Yep.
Click the subscribe thing on YouTube, and hit the bell and subscribe to the podcast if that's how you listen, and rate 5 stars and write a review, please. It helps a lot. And then, as well as, if you got somebody who you think would genuinely like what we're doing, send them unsolicited.
Give them a little taste.
Give them a little taste, yeah. And then that'd be awesome. So thank you so much. And you can follow us on First Team Second String on Instagram, First Team Second String on TikTok, and like I said, on YouTube. So is there anything else? Am I missing anything?
I think that was everything. Nailed it.
That was it. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed the show.